we'll have this discussion.
Discussion? What discussion?
This is a discussion.
Combustion. Coming to you from Denver, Colorado. This is Discussion Combustion Podcast with your hosts, Kevin Batstone and Arthur Raw.
I appreciate that. We met like a month and a half ago.
Right around there.
On the elevator. On the elevator.
Yes.
You never know who you're going to bump into on an elevator. That's for sure.
I mean, I guess not.
You just never know. Could be a potential guest. Could be a new friend. You know.
Investor, angel investor.
You just
lover.
never know.
You never know.
New band member. You know, new creator. I mean, look, we met 20 minutes ago. So, cheers to that. Thanks for being here, man.
Cheers.
Episode, what are we at? 236, Art?
236. Cheers.
Thanks for being here. I think it's safe to say probably best hair award we've ever had on the show.
Oh that's
wow.
Actually,
Ruben,
yeah,
so,
I would give that up. Yeah,
I mean, let's start there.
For sure.
Thank you.
Looking fabulous over there.
Yeah, it's going to be good for the viewers, of course. If you are just listening on Spotify, I would encourage you to scroll down and click the Watch Now link so you can interact with us in here and have some fun.
Yeah. YouTube has a fun element. So you're sipping on some like agave. What is that?
So this is Cayman Jack. It is margarita. It's ready to drink, and it's so good. You should try it.
The RTDs are definitely big in the marketplace right now. Everyone's got one, seltzers and pre-mades. What's the alcohol content on that?
Let's find out. That's a good idea.
I'm guessing 5.2.
5.8.
Ah.
5.8.
So it's more than a beer.
But it's like per fluid ounce, right?
Alcohol by volume, probably.
Mm-hmm. So whatever that is.
Yeah, ABV, 5.8%. It's much more than Bud Light. Thanks, Bud Light, for sponsoring the show. Appreciate your continued support. And, yeah, man. Thanks
like your cowboy boots.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, let's get the old camera on those, Art.
Yeah, the boots.
So,
they deserve a show.
They're Justin's. I've been wearing them for a long time. I actually bought a new pair, and I don't like them as much. I was like, I got to go back to the old ones. These ones got a lot of miles on them.
I've barely seen the new ones.
It's the heel. The new one doesn't have the heel on it, so they just don't feel as good. But
yeah,
I love my cowboy boots. Justin, Texas.
Yeah. Now, are you loyal to a certain brand of shoe or like a certain brand of like sunglasses or
no?
You're just like you'll go with whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever looks good and feels
good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I'm kind of a Ray-Ban guy personally when it comes to glasses. Like my eyeglasses, my sunglasses. I get sucked into that.
Okay, so I lose a lot of my shit. So like often I shop at the thrift store.
Nice.
Literally wherever I can.
Okay. Yeah, you can have some really good finds in there too.
Thrift store.
Yeah.
H&M. I don't know where these are from. Thrift store.
Really?
Yep.
There's some hidden gems in there.
Yeah.
I should probably start going there more. Like, what's your go-to location? Just any of them? Like
the one on Cherry Creek.
The one in Cherry Creek.
In Cherry Creek, yeah.
That would make sense. I mean, it's kind of a nicer area, so those shops are probably going to have some nicer things available.
The one on Broadway is actually not bad.
Really?
Either.
Yeah, I haven't been.
Yeah, I like going for tchotchkes.
I haven't been down there.
It's a what?
Yeah, for like a tchotchke.
What is
like a tchotchke items is like where it's like something.
Knickknacks.
Yeah, like a knickknack, something that you could just kind of.
Tchotchke.
Yeah, right. Is that right?
I don't know. I've called it knickknacks is how I know it.
Knickknacks, tchotchkes. Yeah, like something like you're looking for a desk item. You're like, my desk is too barren.
Like this.
Let's get some flavor on it.
I think we got this at Target
for
though.
A tchotchke.
That's bad feng shui.
Is that a tchotchke though?
I don't know if that's truly a tchotchke or not. Lori, I know you're tuning in. She'll fact check us, send us an email later.
Who's Lori?
She's one of our bigger supporters and always like fact checking us and telling us how dumb we are.
I mean, someone needs to.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know anything about anything, so I need someone to kind of straighten me out.
This is the general PSA that this is a opinion-based program, because sometimes we get into things, and it's like, these are just opinions. Yeah, we don't listen to any advice from us, basically, sort of stuff.
I mean, you can listen to advice, but like medical advice, probably not.
No.
Scientific research, no.
You should probably listen to me.
Yeah.
That's why we have Ruben here.
Yeah. we have an expert. So you are an expert in making the show happen. Okay. I'll say it like that. You also have appeared on the boob tube, I'll say, so on TV screens.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about your professional career and like your journey into what you do.
Oh my God. Okay. So funny story. I've never been to school for film production. None of that. I never really advocated a campaign for any of that. But one day, about 3-4 years ago, my friend Ellie calls me up and she's like, "What are you doing today?" And she obviously knew I didn't have a job.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, "Can you please come down here?" I was like downtown Houston. apparently Top Chef came to town and they needed like more production assistants. So I was like, okay. So on that day, I had to learn a bunch of lingo. I had that shit written down. Her and I were just like in the car scribbling stuff down, like what a slate is, what the lingo was.
Okay.
And that
Just a
actually
crash course in the car.
Yeah, and that actually turned into me networking with other people in the industry, and then them calling me back, like for different gigs, and it just turned into what it is today.
Wow. So how long ago was that? Sorry.
No, you're
Like
good.
4 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
it's safe to say that the first go around went extremely well.
Oh yeah.
Your first, real shot at it, learning the lingo, getting a shot at production, and kind of running it a little bit. They're like, yeah, this went well.
Yeah, so actually, like my second gig, I didn't have any of my friends with me, and like they give you a little headset and stuff, and they're like, okay, well I need this and this. I'm like looking up on Google, like what is a slate? Like what is this? What is that? So I really had to like try.
I don't know what a slate is.
It's one of those things that you like. It has
Take
like
one.
the take, like the director, producer, whatever, and like the scene, and just like
Oh,
that thing.
like
Action.
Action.
Yeah.
That's a slate.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I had no idea.
I didn't either.
What did I think that was called?
Well, I mean,
I had no idea.
the action clicker.
Yeah, an action clicker or something like. I have no idea. I would consider it a tchotchke. No, I'm joking.
What is that you keep talking about? The tchotchke.
I don't know.
I know that's a good question.
I have
actually.
no idea.
Where does that come from?
I don't know what a
It
tchotchke
sounds-
is.
It sounds Polish.
Checklist. I was about to
Yeah.
say check
I'm
or
a Polish
something.
guy, and I've never heard that term.
Huh.
Mom's watching. Ma, is that Polish? I don't know. But
So you learned what the slate was. Crash course. Been in it for 4 years. And through networking alone, no degrees in hand,
Yep.
you were
like
able
that.
to battle this terrain.
Yeah, I mean, I just let it happen organically. I made a point to always introduce myself to people, like read the room, obviously, and like, when to talk, when not to talk, and just be like, hey, I'm available. If you need like a reliable production assistant, I'm available. I'm a local, and that really just catapulted me into this industry.
is that what gave you the first shot? Just kind of being available and rubbing shoulders with people that were doing it. And once that opportunity became available, like, okay, we're going to call Ruben in for reinforcements.
Yeah, and I really had to learn like for instance, the show that you saw me on was a show that I was actually working in the wardrobe department. At the time, I did not know anything about wardrobe, and so that was my first like go around with that, and I had to learn all about continuity and like making sure like everybody was consistent with the scenes and they were looking the same. It was one of the hardest things that I probably ever had to do professionally. It was just like attention to detail was important, and like staying on track with the rest of the production was really important. Needless to say, I was so stressed out. I was like crying.
Okay.
I was like crying all the time.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm pretty sensitive, I feel.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of pressure, though, too,
It
right?
is.
To be making those kind of decisions. What kind of time frame did you have to come up with solutions to what the wardrobe situation was?
As far as like what?
Like, okay, we're getting ready to shoot. You're in charge of wardrobe. How are things going to flow here? Like, how much time did you have to kind of make these decisions?
Like 45 minutes.
So not much.
If that.
Not
If
much.
that. Like, yeah, not much time at all.
Like, you couldn't sleep on it kind of thing. It's like, we need to go now. Wow.
That's
If
fast.
not, then I would have to like talk to them and be like, okay, well, this is not possible. If y'all you want to dig deeper into the budget, this is what we need. This is the type of fabric that we need. This is what you want. It was just a lot of like research and.
Well, sometimes people need to be told that things can't happen, right?
It's always fun.
Right?
I mean, yes and no, but like you need to be the person that is gonna make things happen. Because they obviously need you for a reason or want you for a reason.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
true.
you kind of want to deliver.
That's true.
Especially when there's deadlines. We got to get this done by this time.
And it's just like contribution. Like, not gonna be there and be like, oh, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, the creative direction has to be there, of course. You got to know what's going on, and they're relying on people that know what they're doing. Half the time, it's like, I don't want to say fake it till you make it, right? But going back to the whole, not studying the industry. Same with us. We didn't go into multimedia or anything like that. We just kind of figured it out. I feel like that almost yields more value than some of these guys that are educated in the field, because you're coming up through the trenches, taking grenades. You're seeing what's going on live action. You're learning as you go.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, the trial by error way of learning is definitely, it's the only way to truly learn, in my opinion. But it's really difficult to like swallow that pill sometimes. And even if you have swallowed that pill a bunch of times in the past, like you still got to continue to like swallow that pill every time you have to do something difficult.
Yeah.
Or like take the loss. I don't know if it ever really gets easier. As far as like, is there ever a finish line to like where you have to like, I guess if you get complacent, then you can be okay with how things are, right? Or like you'll stop making progress. I don't know where I'm going with that.
I think it does get easier, but it is a bigger pill to swallow every time. So I mean, it's just all about like showing up, and even though you're scared, even though you don't know what you're doing, even though you may be surrounded by people that are professionals and know what they're talking about in and out, it's about faking it until you make it. And eventually it gets easier, I feel.
It's
until
kind of like
that next big thing comes.
Yeah, repetition's a mother of skill
That's true.
kind of thing, right? Talk about that. The more times you do something, the more familiarized you get with it. Sure, there might be some difficult challenges along the way in the industry, or a bigger project that comes up, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I think repetition is the mother of skill when it comes to stuff like that. I've never really been in the production side like what you're talking about, other than what we do here. But I mean, it's similar but different, of course.
Yeah, I agree.
So what would you say, 4 years? There's got to have been some challenges along the way. I know you just kind of mentioned some of them starting out. What would you say now when you analyze a project or an opportunity? What are some of the things you go, okay, been here, I've learned this. This might be new. What are some of the things that you feel like are still kind of challenging as you evolve in this industry?
So right now I'm currently in the drone show live events industry, and every show is different. So you might have certain things that come up that are an obstacle that you really have to overcome. So every show is very different, and it's very different from traditional production sets that I'm used to, because it's a live event. I mean, you got a lot of things to consider, like restricted air zones, crew that shows up or don't show up. Do you have security? Do you have the right equipment? Just like a lot of things.
That is a lot.
Just a lot of moving parts that go along with that. But I think before this opportunity came, when I was working in like mostly independent films, I would take anything on, honestly.
Any and every opportunity. That's probably the best way to do it. Just spearhead it. Let's go. Nicolas Cage style. I was actually reading. He's like one of the most prolific actors of our time.
Is he?
He's been in 120 plus movies. The guy's in everything. Because he takes almost every opportunity, I feel like. He's like, here's the script, we'll pay you this much, he takes it. I respect that. I'm not saying he's the best actor, but I like Nick Cage.
I mean, he does have like a super loyal like fan. Like I forget the Reddit page.
There's a Reddit page?
Yeah, there was like a Our True God or something.
What?
Is what it was called. It was like called something ridiculous like that, and it was for Nick Cage, and it was all the renditions of him. And
He's done a lot of shit.
yeah.
He's done a lot of things.
Yeah, when he showed up as like one of the Supermen, and maybe that's a spoiler. I'm not going to say the movie that was from. Actually, I don't want to spoil it. It's been out for a little bit, but we're not going to spoil it here on DCPC this week.
I honestly don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Perfect.
No, I'm not sure on that film, but didn't he just did like The Mermaid too? Isn't he in that one?
Nick Cage?
The Little Mermaid?
Yeah.
I don't know if he's in that.
I think he is.
What is he like the crab or something, or like?
I don't know if he's a crab, but I'm pretty sure he's in it in some form.
Not the crab.
I have no idea.
Crab?
I don't know.
Pretty sure he's in it. I could be wrong. I'm wrong about most things, but I think there's something to do with the mermaid that Nick Cage is involved in.
Yep.
Interesting.
That is interesting. I don't know. I haven't heard that. I haven't been keeping up on the Nick Cage news recently.
I mean, look, we have to stop the show. I have breaking Nick Cage. No, I'm not like that, of course, but I have a hard time keeping up with all the riffraff that's going on. I'm tired of hearing about Taylor Swift. I'll tell you that.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Okay. And the Travis Kelce thing. That's all I hear. Like that's all I hear about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Me too.
Yeah. I mean,
it's definitely going on.
I'm excited
out there.
for them. That's great.
Yeah.
But
I'm indifferent.
I'd
I
rather
don't
just
care
watch
about
the
Taylor.
game, you know?
Yeah.
I really don't care about Taylor.
Yeah.
Lana's a different story. I love Lana.
Who's Lana?
Del Rey.
Lana Del Rey.
Yeah.
I probably look. If I heard the music, I would recognize it.
Oh my God. Can we?
I'm one of those type of people where it's like I don't know all the artists and stuff.
Should we
But,
pull
Yeah,
it
no,
up?
same. But like,
but I'll know the music.
yeah, we should pull it up.
Let's pull it up. We have like a, you know, the Joe Rogan Jamie. We have a little side.
We're right underneath the camera
Yeah,
right
you
here.
can't.
Yeah.
Vanna.
And Nick Cage was not in The Little Mermaid.
Nick Cage was not in
That's
The
good
Little
to know.
Mermaid.
They did
Okay.
have
She
a
would know that.
fan-based creation of Nick Cage in The Little Mermaid.
Maybe that's what okay.
That's
Once
funny.
again,
That is funny.
I am wrong.
No, I was looking that up immediately.
So, what kind of music do you guys listen to?
So I just did, like, everyone's been doing their Spotify Wrapped, like, which just dropped today or something.
Oh yeah.
And apparently I listened to 45% rock music this year.
Nice.
What kind of rock music?
Anything from, you know, the 90s grunge, like Puddle of Mud, to, you know, modern day, like Texas Hippie Coalition I'm a big fan of. I just love rock, Metallica. You know, I like some rock and roll. So 45% is according to my Spotify Wrapped.
Wow.
And behind that was country music. But I don't like much of the what I call bubblegum country, which is like the pop kind of country.
Bubblegum.
Yeah. That's just what I picture. You know,
Yeah.
people blowing bubbles and listening to these very poppy country songs. You know, I'm not saying they're not good. It's just I don't want to listen to them.
Yeah.
I'll listen to them, but I'm not going to choose to.
A bit
on my own.
cringe.
Yeah. I mean, look, we can all tell when it's like made for the radio. Like.
Yeah, like the Florida Georgia Line type stuff, which they broke up. Like I'm not into that type of country.
Look, I went to one of their concerts with Nelly, and I just got to say, like I've never been so confused at a live event. Like I didn't know what I was watching or what they were trying to. I didn't know what was going on. That's a side note.
Oh wow. When was
Side
that?
note. That was at least a year. That was probably a little bit over a year ago.
They've been broken
I
up
would
for
say.
about
Yeah.
So you saw them like at the end.
I probably saw it like it's probably 2 years ago because time is flying. It's rocket speed right now.
It really is.
It's like on rocket speed. We're coming into December
Almost.
tomorrow because this drops on Thursday.
The 30th.
So for the listeners,
30 days
It's the
has
29th, right?
yes,
Right now it is, yeah.
But for the listeners, tomorrow is the first because it drops on Thursday.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, but like country, I like what I guess they call it red dirt. It's like a sub genre of country now.
That's good stuff.
Texas country. Some of my favorites. Cody Jinks, one of my favorite guys in the market. I saw him at Red Rocks, which was fantastic. Good stuff.
I love Road Rocks.
Have you
it's
been?
epic.
I have, but not like for a show.
You just kind of like hike the stairs and I mean, still it's beautiful up there. The views are incredible. People are there doing exercise, so the mood's always good. I like Red Rocks. We were
Yeah.
up there for Dirks Bentley 2 months ago.
I haven't been to a bad show there, really. But as far as music, man, I love it all. I would say every genre of music has amazing songs, right? Like every single genre. Really what has been pulling me in recently is things that have a south of the equator flavor. And what I mean by that, yeah, and what I mean by that is
It's like how I introduced you on Happy Friday.
is like Latin America, like South America music, and like EDM, but with like that kind of South America stuff in there, and then also a lot of the African like EDM type tracks and stuff. They got some really cool sounds,
Like Afro beats.
things like that. So I've been getting into some of that, and then of course some hip hop and stuff. You got to keep it in the mix. Some rock, probably not 47%. Is what you said.
I was surprised by that, but I guess it doesn't lie.
I got introduced to Afro beats this past summer. My friends in Tulum, like, that's all they play. And it's a vibe.
Yeah.
It's a vibe.
It's kind of got like that tribal feel, almost like you want to stomp around a fire, maybe, or eat something unique.
I like splash
Yeah,
in the pool.
Yeah.
that'd be fun. I mean, music's a whole vibe.
It
And
is.
it's a soundtrack to life. I feel like
Oh yeah, sound is very powerful.
it is.
Yeah.
It is. It
It's
goes back
universal.
to primitive land of beating on rocks with sticks and making beats and rhythms.
I like mantras, like
That's true. That was probably like the first form of music. Now that you mention that, and I'm thinking about it, Like what could have come before like humming and like woos and you know, thing like mantras.
I mean, just whacking things against a rock or something.
Yeah. Yeah, whacking things.
That would be the only thing I could think of. Because like humming would be like that's where we learned harmonies, right?
I don't know. I was not alive back then. I really don't know.
I heard from a friend.
It's been passed down from generations and generations. The story of the first song.
Of the first song.
No.
I mean, there had to have been a lot of contributing factors, I think. You know, because like there wasn't a lot of communication. Like they had to grunt to communicate, or that meant something.
You know, it still does. Okay, like you can straight up just communicate with like with dogs. You can communicate with people the same way you communicate with dogs, basically. Like we could have a whole like if I was trying to lead you somewhere or show you something or have you help me with something, you could practically do it all
without
verbalizing, describing by pointing or like like hand gestures or there's a lot of that kind of nonverbal communication that is always it's even happening now. Nonverbal communication is happening as we speak. It's one of those things that's always around, looming.
It's like 80% of communication is nonverbal.
Yeah, body language.
Is it?
Eye contact.
That's high up.
Things of that nature. But the great thing is we all have our phones down. That's a nice
Yes.
way. I don't like communicating through a phone unless I have to. Obviously, we live in a
My
time
phone's up,
where we have to.
actually.
Is it up?
Yeah. Yes.
Are you
But you're
live
not-
streaming?
I am.
You're not using
Nice.
it, though, are you?
No.
I mean, technically you are, but you
Okay.
aren't.
Did that waiver said not to?
No,
No.
you can use this however you want.
Do whatever you want. This is
I'll
our place.
post it. I'll obviously tag you guys.
We're in the trust nest. We're not in the trust tree. What was that line from Old School? Was it Old School? Yeah, it was Old School with
The trust tree.
Yeah, we're in the trust tree.
Yeah.
You ever see that in Old School?
I've seen Kicking It Old School. I haven't seen Old School.
Yeah.
But
Came
I
out
know
20
what you're
years ago.
talking about. Yeah, I know what you're talking
I don't know.
I guess I dated
about.
myself.
The Owen brothers or something.
Yeah,
Owens?
Luke.
Yeah,
Luke was
Luke
in it. A couple other guys. Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
It's a good one though. I like those old movies though, man. They're like,
Yeah.
it's like reminds me of my high school days. 'Cause I'm
Will
old.
Ferrell just really is.
You're not a Will Ferrell fan?
No,
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Does he just kind of rub you the wrong way?
He's just so cringe
Really?
to look at and listen to. Yeah, I don't like
Yeah.
it.
I mean, look, he is one of those people. There's some people out there where it's just like they can take it or leave it. It's like there's no in between.
A little overstimulating, and on top of that, it just makes me a little unsteady.
What a perfect example.
It just, I'd rather not. Like Jack Black as well.
You put him in the same category.
I do.
I could kind of see that. Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of him.
Annoying. They're just annoying.
Yeah, and kind of repetitive maybe. You know?
Just too much. Just kind of obnoxious, and I feel stupid after listening to them.
Really?
Oops.
Wasn't express yourself. You can express
I
yourself.
mean,
here
I
on DC
like kind of
Decent.
like if you watch a episode of Family Guy or something. It's
Yeah.
I feel so stupid afterwards.
Of which one?
Family Guy.
Yeah, I never got really into that program. I like some stupid shows like Beavis and Butthead. Again, I'm old.
Yeah.
It still makes me giggle to this day.
Yeah, and it's just so ridiculous. But so I used to watch Family Guy, like back in my do nothing dumbass days. But then since I have been back on like actually getting life, I have went back because it's one of those things like, hey, I enjoyed that once. Like I could rewatch that. It'd be good to rewatch. And then I go back and rewatch it. I really feel unstimulated. But one that is an OG is Futurama. I think that will
I really got
always,
into that either.
I think that will always be a good one.
I never got into that either. I was going back down the
No.
old
Kind
nostalgia
of
road.
futuristic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was like what, Cartoon Network art, like early 2000s?
Futurama.
Comedy show, right?
Yeah.
Or was it Comedy Central?
Yeah, Comedy Network.
I don't know.
I never got into that. Like Bob's Burgers, never got into that.
Okay, I like Bob's
About
Burgers.
Archer.
Yeah, that,
Never
I
got
Love Archer. I love Archer. I literally can watch every single episode. I just loved it. I love it.
Yeah.
Do you like it?
I
like Archer.
Never got into it enough to
It's
have
so
an
funny.
opinion.
You're right.
I'd probably have to give it a go, which I never did. Same with Rick and Morty. Everyone's like, "Oh, you need to watch it,"
Yeah.
and I never did.
I can live without that.
I like to be like, I don't subscribe. But, okay, so we're all probably relatively the same age. You might be younger than us, actually. I'm 36.
Okay.
So we're just saying we're cartoons. I'm going to say one of the more influential cartoons for me growing up, one that was just like really cool. And I'm just going to go with the X-Men. I'm going to go with the X-Men one.
I've never watched
Like that
an
one?
X-Men.
Oh, that one came out so solid. That one came out so solid back in the day.
I don't know, man.
I've been rewatching it on Disney.
Have
It's
you?
actually on Disney.
On Disney what?
Stop.
On Disney Plus, and I got to tell you, this plot line is still kind of holding up. And like when you go back and you rewatch stories when you were a kid and you rewatch these as an adult, like sometimes there's like a whole new meaning to this movie. You might remember the images of it and some other things, but like I rewatched The Never-Ending Story recently, the first one, and I got to tell you. It really meant a lot, and I was like, at the end of this
you were
movie,
excited about it.
At the end of this movie, I couldn't believe it.
Aw.
Yeah, so
He was so excited that when I was over his house for a visit, we were looking out at the western, because your apartment faces the west, which is gorgeous. I mean, great sunsets, Rocky Mountains, but there was clouds, and you're like, that looks like the cloud from the Never-Ending Story. He was so excited about it.
No, I said the cloud looked like Falcor
From the Never-Ending Story.
from the Never-Ending Story. Yeah, which is like, do
But-
you know who Falcor is?
No.
Okay, based on the look, I was like, he doesn't know. So
Right.
Falcor, do you know who Falcor is?
No, I was like, did you take edibles when you watched this?
Yes. But Falcor is the dragon from the Never-Ending Story, like the
Yes.
white dog-looking dragon that can
Yeah.
fly.
I still never saw it, though.
Where they
Yeah.
made in Workaholics, they made the car look like that in Workaholics. I
Okay,
never watched it.
Falcor.
Wasn't that with Adam DeMamp or whatever his name is?
Adam Divine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good program.
Yeah,
It wasn't
it was
bad.
Nope. I don't know anything about none of that.
That's okay. So I guess what I'm suggesting is that if you have a little extra time and you want to go down nostalgia boulevard,
It's fun.
what you do is you pull up something from your childhood and just see if you give it a rewatch. Look, maybe you give it 15 minutes and you're like, okay, this is not making the cut. You know, you don't have to watch the whole thing.
Did y'all ever watch Charmed?
Which one was that? I don't think
It was on CW. It had Alyssa Milano, Rose McGowan, and I forgot the other.
was that
girl's
like
name.
a witchy
Yep.
one?
Mhm.
Okay.
It was not. It was not like animated.
No.
That's the only thing that I can really watch from back in the day.
How long ago was that? Like that? When did that program air?
The last program aired in like 2008,
Okay.
and I think the first one aired in 1996. when I
Oh, so that was
I
that's a long run.
Yeah.
It is.
Like 12 years.
It is a long run.
That's long for a program. I feel like most of them, like average, they're probably like 6 to 8 years, depending on what it is.
Yeah.
It's always sad when you get like a really good first season
Yeah.
and then it never returns. Like it didn't get the viewing or
I
something.
feel like you see that more now than you did back in the 90s. I feel like a lot of those shows went a little longer. You know, now it's like, oh, it didn't do well the first season, we're canceling it, or somebody else will pick it up. It's just like we were talking about before when I'm on mic, like podcasting is very saturated. These programs that are coming out are very saturated with all the streaming platforms. There's so many areas to create entertainment. YouTube, you name it, everyone's trying to create entertainment. And it's tough. It's tough to gain viewership. It's tough to market it. You know, there's just so many things coming at us.
And to retain it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you're seeing some of that from your perspective, kind of working behind the scenes on stuff. Like just how it's forever changing and it's like difficult to keep things going sometimes, I guess. Like
Yeah. Yes and no. People that like want to push these kind of productions out like are gonna do it anyways. Like they really are focused more on how much they can put out. So they're determined.
yeah, because you were saying it was more of like an independent film thing, so
Well, yeah, not just
they had, like,
independent
a lot
films,
of
but like
passion.
producers and directors in general. They just have like this laser focus. Like they're gonna make it happen. They really don't care what the stats are. They really don't care like about those kind of things. They just want to make art and put it out.
Do you feel like they're looking at it from like it's a quantity over quality thing? Like they're just trying to crank programs?
Maybe a little bit of both, because I feel like you have to create like quality art, quality content, and at the same time you do need to push it out,
Right.
whatever that means.
Yeah, because there's deadlines. We need this episode or this program by. It's like a record label. Hey, we need X amount of songs by this date, right? I'm sure that plays in a little bit as far as the, making content is concerned.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always kind of tough because you have to have like your muse, right? And like so your muse, like where your creativity comes from. And sometimes when you have it, it's your creativity is like really just it's like soaring freely in a updraft of heat or something,
It's an interesting
But
way to
then
word it.
when you don't have your muse, you're like stuck, and you landed in water, trying to like take off out of the water.
Stuck in the mud.
Yeah.
The muse is an interesting concept, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How so?
Because like a muse is something that's kind of unseen. I think I was watching something like on a YouTube channel the other day that was talking about like the muse and like Greek mythology, or like the Greek methodology. They're just like these spirits that would come and inspire you, and that was like the word genius actually was a derivative from that. It's like whenever you're called a genius, like you're really good at art, or you've invented something, you're just really progressive in technology and progressive, so they just be like, oh my god, you're a genius. But that actually means, like in Arabic they say jinn is like a spirit, genie is a spirit, and somehow that turned into genius. But all of it is like the concept of like tapping into a higher source, whether it be yourself or like another spirit.
Okay. So, because that's interesting. So I kind of feel, and correct me if this is like what you've heard or what you've thought about, but when you are really like tapped into your creativity, and creating stuff that is valuable and like really authentic, to where people are like, oh, that's genius, but really you're just like tapped into this place that is, I guess, something that everybody can access, right? But what can we define that? Like what it is, or like?
I think it's called grace, being able to pull, energy from the higher realms and bring them back here, and being able to share it with other people. I think that's called grace.
Grace, interesting.
Yeah. It's almost divine, and people recognize that, even though they probably have a hard time communicating that. I think it's all the same.
Now, you've mentioned that you're pretty interested in the astrological signs. So, speaking on this grace topic, what sign would you feel brings the most grace?
The most grace.
Or a majority grace?
A majority grace
Maybe
astrological
not the most,
sign?
A majority.
I feel like the water signs are pretty good at
Water signs?
Pisces, Cancer, Scorpios. They're very intuitive, and they're able to like kind of live in this space where it's in between like the physical and the spiritual realms.
And that's been pretty consistent amongst the water signs that you've met
Yeah.
throughout? That's interesting.
But also the air signs. Air signs are pretty cool too. And the fire signs are actually really... it really just depends, I guess. I don't think there's any one specific zodiac that's all about grace.
Fair. That's fair.
I think it's like more important for people to understand that there's not actually one blueprint for everyone to accentuate their grace or tap into their muse, however we want to say it, right? But it's one of those things where it's like you do have to like have your own, like sit in your own truth sort of thing, and like really acknowledge where you're not doing things like 100%, I guess. Because I don't know, the farthest I have fallen from grace is when I was like making excuses to do things that were not good for me, aka like hard drugs and shit.
Yeah.
So and like saying, okay, because I was doing opiates and I was in sales, and I would always be like, oh, this helps me sell better. Like I'm more personable when I'm on these drugs. That's how I felt. That's like my excuses, right? And like in that place, that was like a falsehood that I had given myself, and then I really fell further in, and like it got worse, right? So I guess I was the furthest away from grace at that point, and I also wasn't even being honest with myself about like the issue at hand, right? Because I was making excuses for it. I'm just kind of like brainstorming on what you're saying here and kind of my personal relevance to that thought process.
Yeah, I think you're talking about more like of your shadow self, like being
The shadow self?
Yeah, being like in the darker parts of your subconscious mind.
So I don't know too much about. Have you heard about the shadow self?
Not really. No. I mean, if I have, I didn't retain a lot of the information. So I always like to learn about that kind of stuff. So the shadow self, let's dive into that.
Yeah, what is that?
What does that kind of pertain?
So as far as I can understand a shadow self, it's like the worst parts of you.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of it holds like your trauma, your darker fantasies, like just like the darkest part of you. I know it's equally as relevant as the rest of you.
Yeah.
And a lot of people like to run away from it.
So you have to like acknowledge the shadow self.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, like when you were in that dark place,
Yeah.
I bet you really had to do a lot of soul searching and discerning and, you know, picking the pieces that you wanted and didn't want, and then kind of like moving on from that. So I guess that's why it's important to understand your shadow self, to know what you don't want, versus like, you know, where you want to go.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Finding out what you want, but finding out what you don't want, so to speak.
And you have to experience it, I guess,
Yeah.
in order to like actually feel the things that you don't want.
So yeah, and I guess that's the tough part, because it's like how much do you want to look in the mirror at like the shortcomings? But I guess, you know, like what we spoke about earlier too is the more that you do it, the easier it becomes, right? So, because I was talking about like, what, you know, why is it always got to be a hard pill to swallow, and this and that. But you're actually more correct when it comes to that, because when you are staying diligent with stuff, over time it's going to become easier, because that's a habit, like you're used to doing that. Yeah, that makes sense. So as far as, and I'll pivot here a little bit, as far as the drone stuff, what was the coolest like design that you think your team has pulled off on one of those events?
Oh my god. So it probably isn't that cool to a lot of people, but it was cool to me where they had like a vortex. Do you know what a toroidal field looks like? It's kind of like a donut, but it kind of like curves inward and it looks like a vortex.
Oh, okay. And it like gets smaller as it goes in. Is that the one?
Not so much smaller, it just like turns into like this vortex. I wish I could show you guys.
I almost got it with the...
Okay, so I think I have like a good demonstration of this. So think of this, but like in 3D.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
With
yeah.
like drone lights.
Okay.
And it's just like turning inwards and inwards and inwards.
Okay, I see.
You know what I mean? So that was probably one of the coolest ones. Whenever they're above water, they look really cool too. God, I do so many of them, I really can't.
And how many people does it take to pull off like one of these drone shows? Like maybe not including security or movers, like actual people that are working on like programming, maintenance of the equipment, stuff like that.
You got people that are designing it, animation designers. You got the salespeople that are going into it. You got people that are putting in paperwork for FAA clearance stuff. You got actual coordinators, clients. The actual crew people was probably the most essential. People like me that are on the ground, like trying to pull all these things together. So I would say on a small one, probably like 20 people.
Okay. And then, because I was thinking like 100, so I was like way overshooting it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably overshooting it. Yeah.
And then on average, how many drones are involved, like individual drones, in the display, performance, whatever you would word it?
I think that a good drone show is probably, you can do a lot with 300.
300.
The max is like 1,000 some. But some people do like 100. It's really not that exciting, but.
Okay.
Yeah.
So more exciting, people love to travel, and you seem like you're on flights frequently.
Yeah.
So you said you've been in Tulum. I've never been to Tulum. What was one of the best places that you feel like really captured your heart? One of your favorite places? Like when you left, you're like, I'm bringing this culture home with me.
I guess Tulum.
Is it Tulum?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Even though I wasn't there for like anything work related, I've had so many spiritual experiences there. I made a lot of friends there too. I even thought I was gonna move there at one point.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've never been to Tulum. What would you say like the top experience, or like, okay, if I'm going to Tulum, I've never been to Tulum. What's like the best thing to do out there? What would you recommend? Like, all right, this is a must. If it's food, a sight to see, what would you say?
Oh my God, I hate to say this, but like going to the hotel zones, like Selena, La Negra, like all the clubs on the hotel zone, like that's where like a lot of celebrities stay and like a lot of millionaires. I think that is really exciting because like it's such a vibe. Yeah.
So do you like did you like rent like a pimpin' ass car or something?
No.
And like you didn't do anything like that, like roll
no.
around?
So I usually stay in like boutique hostels, and they're like really nice hostels.
Okay.
And you get to meet people from all over the world, like different parts of Europe, different parts of America, and you just like kind of all meet. There's like a bar area that you can be at, and like a restaurant, and you just get to meet all these people that are solo traveling themselves. And you know, I like for myself, I guess like the first year I was kind of like, I wasn't sketched out, but I was like kind of keen on being safe, and so I would be like organized, like getting to meet like people that are also solo traveling and kind of making group events, like going bike riding to the store or going to like different clubs, dinners. So that was one of my tactics to making a lot of friends out there.
No, that definitely makes sense. So I've never done that kind of hostel traveling. How many would you say you have, like you've done it for over a year, like or many years? Like how long did it take for you to get comfortable? We were like, okay, like this is a pretty safe situation. Like I'm not super sketched out about, being
I think
out.
the first time I went, I was
Yeah.
pretty like good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I did it like every year after that.
Okay.
I'm actually about to go in January
Nice.
again because it's getting too cold, and I haven't had any time outside.
So it's like an annual thing.
Yeah.
That's great. And what better time to get out of the cold? Because here we are. It's cold. I don't like the cold.
You don't?
No, I'm not a big fan. I grew up in New England, and here I'm in Denver, and I bitch a lot about the cold, as Art can attest to. I bitch a lot when it gets cold outside. I can put up with it. I'm familiar with it. I know how to drive in it, but I don't really like it.
I just thought you would have like an accent, like a thick accent.
Like a New England accent?
Yeah.
I mean, if we start drinking a lot, we can potty wicked hot.
Yeah.
No,
It starts to come out, dude. I mean, it gets fucking wild in these pots.
He'll get on a call with one of his people out there, and then
Greg. Shout out Greg.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, like it definitely comes out more after you start talking.
It
With
gets
them.
fucking wild out there.
Yeah.
They potty hot.
Oh my God.
But yeah, accents are fun. I mean, we were talking a little bit about Texas, right? I like the Texas accent. It's one of my favorites.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I like the Southern accent. I've been around NASCAR my whole life, so like Southern accents they come out a lot in me just because I spend so much time around that sport and interacting with people that are in the South. It's fun. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. People in the South are a hoot and a holler.
A hoot and holler. I like that. That's a great way to describe it. Yeah.
I would actually describe my Cajun crawfish buddy as a hoot and a holler.
Yeah,
That
crawfish Pappy?
dude. Yeah, that dude. He like slaps his foot to the ground whenever he says anything that he feels like is mildly funny to the group. He like says something, he like slaps his foot.
Crawfish
I
Pappy.
don't know. I think it's hilarious.
You've been on the show a few times.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Good friends.
Yeah,
Good
folks from the
friends.
South. I mean, they're just, they add flavor. They're fun. I mean, there's a lot of people that are fun. Everyone brings a little bit of flavor, but it feels like people from the South. They just, they got grit. They got character. They're fun to hang out with.
I agree.
They'll teach you how to cook some fun things. That's what I like about it.
I agree.
Like gumbos and all that, what we were talking about. So yeah, no, I want to get to Tulum, and that is in Mexico, correct? Okay, I just really wanted to be sure there because they're speaking Espanol. So do you know Espanol too?
I actually have learned a lot of my Spanish traveling there.
Okay. So how would you consider yourself fluent, and what would you consider fluent? I guess.
I wouldn't consider myself fluent. What would I consider fluent? I guess being able to like tell people, this is where I need to be dropped off. Just like basic shit.
Yeah. And honestly, you can get by on the translators pretty well.
Yeah, but it's a bit time consuming, especially
is.
if you're on a busy street and you're trying to get, because they don't have Ubers out there. They just have taxi drivers.
Okay.
And you really got to like communicate with them.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, I've never really used the Google Translate. I know it can come in handy, of course, but I don't know. I went down to Progreso, Mexico, and I took like 2-3 years of Spanish in high school. And I was confident going in, and I sounded like an idiot.
Yeah.
I just came out of the gate. I was like, look, yo hablo un poco español, right? Came out of the gate with that, so they knew I'm just this gringo with cowboy boots, right? This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. But, like, I was still able to navigate a little bit, right? Yo quiero la comida. I need some food. Where do I go?
Yeah, but you also have people that will try to take advantage of that.
And I noticed that a little bit. Yeah, that's a good point.
You really have to be careful.
You have to be careful. Yeah, that, for sure. And that, like, it feels uncomfortable because you're a little bit out of your element, or at least speaking for myself. I was out of my element. I wasn't used to the situation, right? And I did notice that. I was like, man, I got to be careful here because I feel if I'm not, they might take advantage of me.
Oh, yeah.
Did you have somebody that like had your back that was more fluent out there?
No, I really have my own back, just because like I usually hang out with nothing but girls, and like most of them were not from Mexico, but like I obviously look Mexican, so like I wouldn't really try to say much, and I would try to act like I knew, just so that like I wouldn't be easily taken advantage of. Yeah, so I definitely was conscious of people. I mean, I lived in Houston and I worked in the nightlife a lot, and even I guess that's where I really learned a lot of just like my street smarts, like how to be conscious of, people trying to take advantage of you, or like the people around you, or people that are like, just talking a lot, but don't really, I guess, trying to manipulate situations and stuff like that. So, yeah, I've always been really conscious of, I guess a little bit like hyper paranoid of other people. Yeah, because like Houston's like a very, it's rougher than a lot of people think, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good. I think it's good to be, on your guard. We live in such a crazy time now. I mean, you just never know what's going to happen. We see, especially in the nightlife scene, right? There's shootings, there's bad things happening, there's roofing happening. Like it's a dangerous scene at times, for sure. So I think the more cautious you can be, the better. I don't know much about Houston. We were talking a little bit, off mic before we went on. I've only been to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but I'd like to get down to Houston for a visit. I mean, it seems like there's some great things to do down there, great food, great people, great surrounding areas. If I were to go down for a visit, where should I go? Like, where would be your recommendation for me to go check it out?
Midtown, Montrose, Sugarland, if you want to go see a concert.
How about like, are tacos big in Houston?
They're very big.
Like, what's the taco joint? Like the one?
Honestly, okay, this is gonna sound bullshit. I don't know if it's like a chain.
Okay.
Pacific Coast Tacos is a really good one.
Pacific Coast?
Pacific Coast Tacos. They have one in Sugarland. That's how I know about it. It's where I'm from. I think they have one in like Midtown. Yeah, but like everywhere there has really good tacos.
And I'm all about the food truck tacos, but the thing is that when you go to these food trucks, it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but you're like paying for some gourmet type. Like, I don't know. I feel like food trucks have a lot better food than a lot of restaurants I've been to.
Some.
I feel like that.
Some. I mean, I've been to some good ones. Yeah, food trucks are nice. I'm like, if you want to complain to the manager, though, you just like walk around to the driver's side door and you're like, hey, can I talk to someone? Whereas like brick and mortar, you know where to go. Right?
That's true.
If that's, I mean, I've never done that. I'm not saying I'm one of those guys. I paid for the food. I'm going to eat it. I'm not going to complain about it unless I get sick.
I'm really trying to think about where in Houston is a good hot spot.
Littlewood Joe's.
You think so?
Littlewood Joe's.
Littlewood Joe's.
It's like a dive bar.
Woodrow's.
Woodrow's.
Good taco shop.
No, it's a
Oh,
bar. It's
yeah.
a bar food place, but it's originated in Houston and then spread out to the point where they might become a chain. At
Wow.
this point.
Yeah, they
Nice.
have like
They're
a
doing
lot
well.
of different locations in Houston.
Very much. I opened one of those stores, and they ventured out to Beaumont, all the way to Beaumont, and I opened one of those stores.
Wow.
Yeah, really good people. Regional managers, fantastic. Really good bar. Definitely check it out if you're in Houston.
Raw sushi.
Mm.
That's a good place.
Okay. So you've given us some good advice. You've told us some great stories, and you've shared some awesome experiences. Now, I got a question. Have you watched any of these a DCPC episode all the way through?
No.
Because there's one question we ask every single guest.
DCPC.
Discussion Combustion
Oh,
podcast.
I see.
Yeah, because it's kind of long.
Have
know?
I seen? Are you asking me if I?
Do you know the question that we're gonna ask you? You don't? Okay, Kev, do you want to do the honors this week?
Sure, I'll take the honors. I mean, I know you said you watched a couple of episodes, maybe not all the way through.
Yeah.
So we usually like to incorporate this towards the end of the program. So we like to ask every guest, if you could offer one piece of advice that would better humanity tomorrow, what would that piece of advice be?
Ooh.
Everybody hears it on the planet. Like, everyone's gonna hear this. What is it?
I would say definitely, even though you're scared and you have this desire in your head, go for it anyways. Like, no matter who's looking, who's watching, who you think is thinking, whatever, literally just lean into it and try over and over and over and over again. Even if you don't know what you're talking about, know anything about the topic, you feel like it's cringe, lean into it and just try over and over and over again. And maybe one day, it might pay off.
I like it.
I mean, it's simple said, but you've lived this advice through like the scouting stuff, that like getting involved and just taking on those opportunities. And even though it might have been a challenge, I'm sure you didn't always understand, or like even going to Tulum and like going to these other places, not really knowing the language 100%, or but you've actually like lived through the advice to get there.
I actually feel like I could do a lot more with the advice I just gave.
Yeah.
All the time I feel like, I wouldn't say inferior, but like a lot of the times I feel like I'm surrounded by much more educated men, women, and sometimes, I choose to stay quiet just because I don't want that extra attention. I don't want people looking at me in that light. Whereas, I could be going at it again and again and again and again. So there's a lot of things that I personally feel like I could be more vulnerable in, especially in my field. I feel like I have a lot more to offer than what I'm actually giving these people.
Okay. So like almost, you're almost like voicing your own personal challenge that like you feel like you could have a bigger voice.
Yeah.
In your day to day as well.
Yeah, I mean, and this goes on like all levels of myself right now. Like I moved to Denver, really a lost person. Like I didn't really know much about anything, and now that I'm here, I'm getting closer and closer and closer to myself.
Yeah.
And I guess the next thing for me is trying to monopolize where I'm at, like my money and like where I'm going. And I don't know what I'm doing, to be honest. I moved out here trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I'm still kind of doing that.
It's a process. We got to ride the wave, as I like to say, as the surfers would say. It's a long process. I mean, and I think recognizing that, like I'm moving to Denver to figure some things out. That's great, right? You took the step. You made action on something that you're like, I want to do something different. I need to change some things. First step's action, right? Got to change it up. I like it.
Yeah. And something led you here too, So life is really interesting because it's kind of like constantly shifting and moving, and you have to stay adaptable, and or else like you get lost in like an old cycle in your life. And this isn't my stuff, like I've read this, but like how your ego will get attached to an old cycle that's done.
Yeah.
And like you're still attached, your ego is still attached to it. So then like you have this like feeling like you're missing something because that cycle's over with, but you identified with it, and that you can't really identify with it anymore. And it could be so many different variations of what that cycle was, right? But to create something new, take a risk, come out, lean into things, pursue your passion, take the opportunities like you're saying, you're taking all the opportunities. I think it's awesome. We only invite people that have epic energy onto the show. So we already know that like you're making major moves. And what's fun about having you here today is it's all cataloged, right? So as we continue to move forward in our lives and make things happen, we're going to continue to support you and what you do, because you're in our network now, and get you back in like a year, see what's happening, because like 3 months of finding yourself where you're at right now, right? Mm-hmm. And then so who knows where you're going to be at or have accomplished, and like what kind of trajectory.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. That's kind of exciting, though. It's kind of exciting.
It's like a blank canvas, I feel. I don't know. Literally, I'm in a spot where I'm literally trying to figure it out. That's where I'm at.
That's a great spot to be, though, I think. I mean, look, let's put pen to the paper kind of thing, put the paint to the canvas. You're figuring it out. You're riding the wave, and I think that's a good thing. And Art, you mentioned on some good points. Yeah, let's get you back on in a year and see what happens next.
Mm-hmm. I'm all for it. Well, it was an honor having you on, and thank you for coming in. I know, we're kind of strangers. It's good to get to know you better. It's good to get to know you better, too. We got you chiming in over there, which is a lot of fun. Everybody out there, please continue to work towards your passions, believe and achieve, challenge yourselves.
Definitely got to be good to yourselves. Ruben, thanks again for being here. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Anything that you want to plug, promote, anything that you want to tell our listeners, viewers, now would be the time.
I guess really just let go and let God. I hate to be so cliche, but like literally the power of surrender is so powerful. Literally so powerful. Just let go.
Let go.
Just let go.
I like it. What a great way to close.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
We'll keep them coming at you. Let go, surrender, and make it happen.
That's right. Thanks to all our loyal supporters here at Discussion Combustion. We'll see you on Happy Friday tomorrow. Ruben, thanks again for being here. We'll include some of your social medias down in the link below. And we're going to get you back on. You're going to be hearing from us again. You're in the wheelhouse. There ain't no getting out.
Okay. Well, I promise next time I'll have some better topics to discuss.
We had great topics.
Yeah,
this was a fantastic episode.
Right. Yeah.
And on that beautiful bombshell, you deserve it.
I was like, what bombshell?